it's Marc Nudelberg. Appreciate you being here with us today. You said something that was really intriguing to me. You didn't get it for the first early part of your career.
Yeah.
And I had a 10-year career as a college football coach, so I would constantly talk to the players that I was coaching about what it took to be a pro, what it meant, the behaviors that went into a full day, not just showing up to practice. So how did that change for you when you became an entrepreneur? What does that behavior look like to be a professional in the business world as opposed to the athletic world? Because it's something that I see going back and forth on a daily basis.
So
I'd love to hear your
question.
take on it.
So it's a great question. I didn't really learn how to be a professional until Greg Camella used to grind me in my off seasons. We'd go run this hill out in Ramapo, New Jersey, and it sucked. I mean, it wasn't like a steep, like crazy hill to climb, but it was like a steady, like pain in the butt, and I always wanted to quit, but he would never let me quit. And so like that persistence that he developed or helped me develop is something that I carried over into my career, and then ultimately carried over into my business career. Sorry, there's people demolishing in my basement right now, so if you hear sound in the background, that's what that is. And so once I became an entrepreneur, and I mentioned that I wasn't always successful. My first business was with Steve Ross, interestingly enough, who I mentioned earlier, in affordable housing. He's known as a commercial real estate developer, and he's done amazing things around the city and really around the country, including on the Miami Dolphins now. But a lot of his early work was in affordable housing, and he was going to buy a portfolio in Virginia that was based out of my hometown in Roanoke. And so we partnered. The problem was the correction happened a year after we partnered with him, and we were about to, meaning my side of the business, was about to take a bath. Thankfully, he saved me and let me out of the deal. He personally guaranteed it. Obviously, the market turned around, and Steve Ross, as Steve Ross always does, found a way to be successful. But the relationship that came from that failure was something that I held on to. And so when Marc Gerson and myself started Thusio, our seed investor was Steve Ross. And so it's like everything that happens, good or bad, it creates an experience, it creates a relationship, and you have to use those as best you can. The most important thing that I came from football that pertains to business is resiliency and adaptability and finding a way to reinvent yourself. So I was a small, injury-prone running back. I turned into this all-purpose guy because of Sean Payton. When Coach Coughlin came, I turned into I got really strong. I turned into this powerful, tackle breaker who could go the distance. And so I was constantly reinventing myself. The same thing happens in business. Thusio started as a marketplace. If you or any businesses that you were associated with wanted to book an athlete to do anything, play golf, go to dinner, give a speech, whatever, you'd come to us and we would manage a transaction. The problem was we were touching every transaction, which is impossible. Like, you can't scale if you touch every transaction. And so we had to pivot. And so we just kept pivoting and pivoting and pivoting, reinventing ourselves until we came to what we ultimately are now. Two companies. One's an influencer marketing company called Julius, and Thusio is the event company that we're running and obviously doing a lot of virtual events. So I think it's a couple of things. One is valuing the relationship that you're building, success or failure. And then two, you have to reinvent yourself, and you can't have too much pride and ownership. Like, this is me. I'm doing it my way. This is the only way to get it done. When in actuality, there's probably someone smarter than you or that has had experience better than you that can help you along the way. That's how we've done it at Thusio, and it's worked for us.
Thank you.
You're welcome, bud.